Arcadian Vanguard presents The Wrestling News in your daily wrestling newscast for Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. Good morning, I'm Mike Sempervive. We begin today with last night's WWE Monday Night Raw live on the USA Network from the Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The main event of the program was a number one contenders match for the United States Heavyweight Championship between Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley. Lashley looked to have Rollins beaten after delivering a spear, but referee Chad Patton was slow in making the count and Rollins kicked out on two. Lashley went for a second spear, but Rollins reversed the move into a pedigree and got the pin.
Lashley understandably upset, but Chad was just trying to stay out of harm's way. Lining it up yet again. Pedigree! Rollins reverses it. He's got it! He's got it! Here is your winner, Seth freaking Rollins!
After the match, a storyline played out where Lashley shoved down another referee who had come down to the ring to try to calm him down. That brought out WWE management Adam Pearce to warn Lashley that continuing to put his hands on WWE officials would result in disciplinary measures. When Lashley also pushed him away, Pearce fired the former WWE champion.
Why? No, he can't do it. No, listen to me. No, he can't do it. Bobby, look at me. I'm not dealing with you. Look at me. Don't walk away from me when I'm talking to you. You just talked about this. I told you my hands are going to... Bobby, I told you my hands are going to be tied. You mother... Why? You are fired! You're fired! What? You're fired! You're fired!
Before the main event, Dolph Ziggler cut a promo on the importance of the United States title and warned champion Austin Theory to watch his back. Solo Sikoa defeated Elias with his spinning solo Uranagi suplex. After the match, Sikoa and Sami Zayn wrapped a chair around Elias' head in an attempt to do more damage, but Kevin Owens ran out to make the save and run the heels off. Not forgetting about their feud from earlier this year, Owens then stunned Elias when the Music Man asked for a hug. Alexa Bliss pinned Bayley to become the number one contender to the Raw Women's title. Becky Lynch ran off Bayley's Damage Control teammates Io Sky and Dakota Kai before the match started. After the bout ended, Women's Champion Bianca Belair congratulated Bliss, who teased giving her the Sister Abigail, but let her go and instead walked away. Also, Rhea Ripley defeated Asuka, who came out without her distinctive face paint on. Asuka held the upper hand when Dominic Mysterio jumped up on the ring apron to cause a distraction, which led to the finish.
With a judgment there, you run it. Oh! No! What? Miss to the eyes of Dominic, but Ripley's back up on her feet. She wants Riptide. Riptide connects. And Ripley gets the win. But it's coming at cost. Here we go. Ripley. Is Dominic okay?
After Asuka sprayed blue mist into Mysterio's eyes, Ripley shoved the pair together and hit a Riptide finisher for the pin. In other results, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio defeated the Street Profits and Akira Tozawa when Priest gave Tozawa the Razor's Edge and Mysterio took the pin. Io Sky defeated Candice LeRae, AJ Styles defeated Chad Gable, and The Miz and Dexter Lumis agreed to have a ladder match on next week's show. In more WWE news, Matt Riddle is currently in rehab following a second failed drug test, according to a report from Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net. On Monday, Haynes reported Riddle has been written out of WWE television due to a second drug test failure, with the first reportedly occurring before SummerSlam and serving as the reason for moving a Riddle match with Seth Rollins from SummerSlam to Clash at the Castle. Haynes notes that he was, quote, told that the company informed Riddle at the time that another failed drug test would result in a rehab or fired situation similar to what happened with Jeff Hardy previously, unquote. Riddle was written off television after Solo Sikoa attacked him following a match on the December 5th episode of Raw and was stretchered out. WWE social media would then state that Riddle was, quote, expected to be out of action for 6 weeks, unquote, which was also noted on this week's episode of the program. William Regal has officially come to terms on his new position with WWE, according to a report yesterday from PW Insider. Regal will return to the company the first week of January and hold a vice president position, with the official title yet to be announced. Regal has spent the last 9 months with AEW after being terminated by WWE at the start of 2022 under the previous Vince McMahon regime. Tony Khan agreed to give Regal an early release from his contract, which some had reported called for 3 years with AEW. Looking ahead to WrestleMania, a report from WrestlingNews.co, unconfirmed by the Wrestling News, indicated that Gunther and Brock Lesnar are scheduled to face off at WrestleMania 39 next April in Los Angeles. Gunther versus Lesnar is one of the matches currently listed internally for WrestleMania by WWE's creative team, according to yesterday's report. Gunther had named Lesnar as a dream opponent during an interview last month with WMBD TV in Illinois. Although Gunther is currently the Intercontinental Champion, it is not known if the rumored match would be for that title. Gunther is scheduled to defend the title against Ricochet Friday night on SmackDown. With some news from AEW, here's the Wrestling News' Lou Kipilman.
AEW has hired WWE's former vice president of global TV production as a new senior vice president and co-executive producer, according to a story broken by PW Insider. Michael Mansouri was with WWE from 2009 to 2020, starting as a production assistant and eventually becoming a vice president in 2016. He was the director of many WWE pay-per-views and other TV shows, and according to a Wrestling Observer Online report, he was seen as an eventual successor to longtime WWE Executive VP of TV production Kevin Dunn. Mansouri is expected to officially start with AEW on tomorrow's Dynamite, although his specific job responsibilities have not been made known. Just prior to joining AEW, Mansouri had been senior vice president and executive producer of global production for the Singapore-based MMA company One, and has also worked as an executive producer on The Pat McAfee Show. For the Wrestling News, I'm Lou Kipilman.
In ratings news, WWE SmackDown last week attracted its largest viewership in almost 3 months, returning to Fox after being temporarily moved to FS1 for the previous week's episode. Friday Night Show drew an average audience of 2.306 million, with a rating in the key 18 to 49-year-old demo of 0.57 according to WrestleNomics. That key demo figure translates to about 739,000 viewers. This was the most watched episode of SmackDown since September 23rd. Post Wrestling reports that in Canada, among English-language viewers, SmackDown averaged 174,000 viewers and 86,000 in the 25 to 54-year-old demographic on Rogers Sportsnet 360. It's the largest audience in Canada since October 28th. Following its lowest rating in the history of the show the previous week, AEW Rampage, which aired later Friday evening on TNT, attained its largest viewership in almost 2 months, drawing an average of 457,000 with a key demo rating of 0.11 according to WrestleNomics. The key demo rating equates to about 149,000 viewers. This was the most watched Rampage episode since October 21st and a 27% improvement over the previous week's record low number. The key demo rating was up 48%. With some news from Japan, here's the Wrestling News' Lou Kipilman.
Carl Anderson is scheduled to be the first ever contracted WWE talent to wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom, New Japan Wrestling's biggest show of the year. One half of WWE's The OC Tag Team with Luke Gallows, Anderson will work the January 4th night of the 2-night show at the Tokyo Dome, according to PW Insider. New Japan reportedly worked out the booking with WWE, although Anderson's match is not yet known. Anderson is already scheduled tomorrow to make his first New Japan appearance since signing with WWE, a defense of the never-open-weight title against Hikuleo. Also scheduled to appear at Wrestle Kingdom is Mercedes Varnado, a.k.a. Sasha Banks, whose status with WWE remains unclear, although the Wrestling Observer and others have reported the two parties have been unable to agree to a deal. For the Wrestling News, I'm Lou Kipilman.
In news from Mexico, several AEW performers have been announced for AAA's last major international event of the year, Night of Champions, on December 28th. FTR will defend their AAA World Tag Team title against Dragon Lee and Dralistico. FTR have held the AAA title since winning it from the Lucha Brothers on AEW Dynamite in October of 2021. This will be their fifth defense of that championship in the past 14 months, the third on a AAA show. Also on the show, Tay Mello and Sammy Guevara will defend their AAA Mixed Tag Team title in a three-way match against the teams of Octagon Jr. and Lady Shani, and Commander and Sexy Star 2. Bandito, who is signed to both AEW and AAA, will challenge AAA Mega Champion El Hijo del Vikingo in the main event of the show. With some news from outside the ring in Mexico, here's the Wrestling News' Lou Kipilman.
Conan provided an update on his current health status on the most recent episode of his podcast, Keeping It 100.
Well, I just started dialysis today, and I can tell you that for the last 8 months, and I really usually don't bring it up to you guys because that's just the way I am, but the last 8 months have been torture for me, mentally, physically. It's been very, very, very hard to go to work, to do this show. Thank God it's the only things I have to do, but even getting on a plane has been torture for me. I feel weak. I feel lethargic. I feel despondent, no energy, irritable, depressed, you name it, bro. I'm just not myself. And it's been really, really hard. And it's been really hard for me to cope with this.
Conan, real name Charles Ashenoff, has been dealing with kidney issues all year. And it had been reported in the Wrestling Observer newsletter back in January as well as November that he was in need of a kidney transplant. The former luchador underwent heart surgery in February 2021 as a result of complications from COVID-19. For the Wrestling News, I'm Lou Kipilman.
Our final report today will contain some spoilers for Thursday's episode of WWE Main Event. These consist of newsworthy items that occurred during the taping prior to last night's Raw. If you wish to not hear any of these spoilers, we'll give you a moment to make your decision, and please remember to follow us across all of our forms of social media. Former AEW, NWA, and Impact performer Kylie Ray received a tryout match on last night's main event taping, losing her match to Dana Brooke. This was Ray's first match ever in WWE. Ray had spent time at the Performance Center in Orlando all last week. The Wrestling News can confirm that Ray has been offered a deal, but we do not have confirmation on if she accepted it. Also on hand for last night's main event were the NXT tag team of Idris Enofe and Malik Blade, who lost to Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali. This was Enofe and Blade's first main roster match. Both have been featured on NXT and 205 Live going back to the fall of 2021 and have been tag teaming in NXT since the beginning of 2022. And before we leave you today, we'd like to remind you that however you consume your content, you can find the Wrestling News 24 hours a day and 7 days a week across social media. On Twitter, follow us at Wrestling News AV. Our Facebook page is also Wrestling News AV. The Wrestling News can also be found on the Arcadian Vanguard YouTube page. And for those who utilize Amazon Echo devices, just tell Alexa to play the Wrestling News podcast. And remember to make sure you add podcast at the end. Once again, for daily updates, breaking news, and more, follow the Wrestling News across social media. And that's the news for today. If anything happens, we will be here to tell you about it. No clickbait, no paywall, just the Wrestling News. The Wrestling News is a division of Arcadian Vanguard, and the Wrestling Newscast is a production of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network.